I need your power in this very hour. Pour your ruach upon me. Pour your ruach upon me. Pour your ruach upon me. Let it fall upon me. I need your power in this very hour. Pour your ruach upon me. Let it descend on me. Pour your ruach upon me. Let your spirit descend on me. Pour your ruach upon me. I need it right now, this hour. Pour your ruach upon me. You are the potter, and I am the clay. Lead me safely in your way. I give you my heart, my whole life is yours. For all you have done, I can't ignore, 'cause you are the source of me. Pour your ruach upon me. Let it fall upon me. I need your power in this very hour. Pour your ruach upon me. Let it descend on me. Pour your ruach upon me. Let your spirit descend on me. Pour your ruach upon me. I need it right now, this hour. Pour your ruach upon me. Lift me higher, lift me higher, lift me higher and higher, and higher, lift me higher, lift me up than I've ever been, lift me higher and higher, and higher, lift me higher than I've ever been, lift me high, higher, higher, and higher, and higher, lift me higher than I've ever been, lift me higher, lift me higher, and higher, and higher, lift me higher than pour your ruach upon me. Let it fall upon me. I need your power in this very hour. Pour your ruach upon me. Let it pour on me. Pour your ruach upon me. Pour on me. Pour your ruach upon me. Fall on me. Pour your ruach upon me. Pour it, pour it, pour it. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Breaking Strongholds Ministries. Good morning, Facebook Live. Good morning, YouTube with Orlando, keeping it simple. How's you all doing this morning? How you all doing this morning? This is the day that the Most High have made, so let us be glad and rejoice in it. Let us be glad and rejoice in this today. How you all doing this week? I hope the Most High has truly blessed you over and abundantly with love, kindness, and joy. I hope He has really truly blessed you over and abundantly with wisdom and knowledge and understanding. You know, I hope He really has truly blessed you. You and your offsprings with everything your heart desire. What you saying? You can't hear me on Facebook and YouTube? My wife saying I'm wet. But anyway, how you all doing this morning? You know, I hope everything is going well. I'm kind of struggling this morning a little bit because the Most High gave me something I'm trying to find. You know, I was asking the Ruah, what I should do, how should I do it, what's going on, talk to me. And see, my wife don't understand I'm having internal spiritual struggles right now to try to make sure I give you the teachings that He wants you to have. This morning, because He gave me a verse, and it's gonna be in here in my teachings, but I'm just trying to make sure that I do the right thing through Him. You know, I'm struggling internally, making sure that I do what He say He want me to do. You know, because I don't want to be out of the will of the Most High. You know, He showed me certain things, and I want to make sure I'm obedient to His word. You know, my wife is doing very well with her business. She's starting to make beard essential oils for men, and those men who do wear beards, and you know, you need some essential oils. All of it is natural. Make sure you give us a holler. My wife has some very good fragrance. I'm not advertising or working today, so don't act like I am, and don't be so critical of me. But I'm just promoting my wife's business. Even though I know we're in the end times, we're in the end times, but what you think you actually see is not what you see. We're at the end of Esau, but the beginning of Jacob. Jacob. We're at the beginning of Jacob. So, because it says Edom is the end of the world, but Jacob is the beginning. So, it's not actually, you're not seeing what you actually think you're seeing. You're not seeing what you think you're seeing. You're seeing something totally different because what scriptures say. You know, you're not seeing it. You're not seeing what you think you see. But we look at it as something bad, but it's not actually something bad. It's actually something good. You know, it's actually something good. But my week has been okay. I can't complain too much. You know, yesterday my wife and I went to the gun range, and I'm very proud of my wife. She's able to shoot over 1,000 yards and hit targets. You know, I'm very proud of her for being an excellent shooter. She's very good. I'm proud of her.
Sometimes she can be overconfident, but I'm very proud of my wife. She can really shoot her weapon. But let us go ahead and get, that was about all the bulk of my week. It's Most High just blessing me. I'm just trying to make sure I'm in Thanksgiving. I'm giving thanks to the Most High for everything He do for us. Because it could be worse. So I'm just thanking Him for everything He's doing and stuff. But let us read in Exodus chapter 20, verses 1 through 17. And it reads, And El spake all these words, saying, I am Yahuwah thy El, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other Els before me, and thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in the heavens above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. And thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, Yahuwah thy El, am a jealous El, visiting the iniquities of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of Yahuwah thy El in vain, for Yahuwah will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is Yahuwah thy El. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy sons, nor thy daughter, thy manservants, nor thy maidservants, nor thy cattle, nor thy strangers that is within thy gates. For in 6 days Yahuwah made the heaven and earth, the sea and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore Yahuwah blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy fathers and thy mothers, that thy days be long upon the land which Yahuwah thy El giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbors, and thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor. Okay? Let's do Yahuwah's prayer. Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us of our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine to your kingdom, power to your glory, forever and ever. So let it be. Amen, amen, amen. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Facebook Live, good morning, Breaking Strongholds Ministries, good morning, YouTube, Orlando, keeping it simple. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm hoping that the Most High leads me through this today, because I want to make sure that His message is getting out the way He wanted to get out. And I'm going to listen to the Ruach HaKodesh as it speaks to me, and making sure that His word comes to fulfillment. I do not do any teachings if the Most High do not tell me to do it. I try not to give no feel-good teachings, because I want to make you feel good about something. I just want to do His will, or the Ruach's will and purpose. So if you could turn to the book of Exodus. The book of Exodus, chapter 15, verses 1 through 21. But I'm going to read the key verse. The key verse is verse 3. Exodus chapter 15. Exodus chapter 15, verses 1 through 18. And the key verse is verse 3. Okay? The key verse is verse 3 in Exodus chapter 15. And it reads, The Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name. Yahuwah is a man of war. Yahuwah is his name. Okay. If I may give a title of the text today, the title of the text today is "The Promise is Being Fulfilled Right Before Your Face." The promise is being fulfilled right before your face. Okay. The word praise. The word praise is a 13th century word, and it means the expression of gratitude. Hear that? The expression of gratitude for personal favors conferred, a glorifying commendation bestowed on a person for his personal virtues or worthy actions. A glorifying commendation bestowed on a person for his worthy actions. Okay? It's an expression of admiration, being thankful. Okay, the word war. The word war is a contest between nations or states carried on by forces, either for defense or for revenging insult or addressing wrong. Listen to that. For the extensions of commerce or acquisition of territory. Listen to that. Or for obtaining or establishing the superiority and dominion of one over the other. War is a large-scale military conflict, difficult to dispute, hostility, fight, combat. That's what it is. War is basically a contest between nation states carried on by forces, either for defense or for revenging. Listen to that, revenging insult or revenging insults and readdressing wrongs for the extent of commerce or acquisition of territory. Okay, another one is catastrophe. Catastrophe is a 1530 century word. It is the change or revolution which produced the final events of a dramatic piece, or the unfolding and winding up of the plot. It is also a final event. Conclusion generally is an unfortunate conclusion. It means calamity, a devastation, or disaster. Okay, I'm going to give you one more other word. Tragedy. Tragedy is a fatal or mournful event. An event which human lives are lost by human violence. More particularly by unauthorized violence. Okay? So when we look at the book of Exodus, chapter 15 of the book of Exodus within itself, the book of Exodus means exit. Exit. That's what it means, exit. And the children of Israel is exiting out of Egypt. And the reason why they're exiting out of Egypt is because the Most High brought them out of Egypt because of what Pharaoh was doing to the children of Israel while he had them in captivity. While he had them in captivity, he mistreated them. He talked to them like there was nothing. He used them as slaves and commodities to build up their land, the Egyptians' land. The Egyptians made them worship their gods. The Egyptians made them eat their food. And all of these things. And the Egyptians treated the children of Israel very bad. Just say very bad. They just totally mistreated them. And when you look at what was actually going on, the children of Israel cried out to the Most High and asked him, or asked the Ruach, the Spirit, to deliver them out of the hands of the oppressions of the Egyptians. So the Most High delivered the children of Israel out of the hands of the oppression of the Egyptians. But in that process, the Most High had to use His creation to be able to deliver the children of Israel out of the hands of the Egyptians. And I really wonder why, this morning when I was studying, and all this week, I really wonder why the Most High always emphasize and want us to really understand why He talk about when you was in the land of Egypt so much, when you was in the land of Egypt so much, when you was in the land of Egypt so much, when you was in the land of Egypt so much. I was really asking that question this morning. Why you want us to really understand that and make that significant to us, that we understand why you want us to remember the land, want us to remember us being taken out of the land of Egypt so much. And then I had to go to Exodus chapter 3 verse 17, because He tells us that so much. He said, remember the land of Egypt. Remember the land of Egypt when you was in captivity, you was in bondage. Remember the land of Egypt when I brought you out of the land of Egypt. And it says in Exodus chapter 3 verse 17, He said, and I have said, I will bring you up out of the afflictions of Egypt unto the land of Canaanites, unto the land of the Canaanites and the Hittites and the Amorites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, unto a land flowing with milk and honey. He said, I will bring you up out of the afflictions of Egypt unto the land of the Canaanites. That means that this deliverance that was done in Egypt was done through the hands of the Most High. This was done through the land of the Most High. Nobody else was able to intercede or be able to receive the credit to deliver the children of Israel out of the hands of the Egyptians, except for the Most High. And I said, okay, I understand that now. And I said, okay, cool, thank you. I appreciate it. I now understand why. Because you want to receive the credit for what happened to the children of Israel in the land of Egypt. So when we look at all the plagues that happened in Egypt, we have to look at the Most High turn the water into blood. We got to look at the frogs being there. We got to look at the lice being there, the flies, the livestock having pestilence. And see, right now, we don't have any livestock. And if it is livestock, it's probably not good livestock. Then you also look at the balls, the hail, the locusts. All these things is what's similar to that happened in Egypt. It's happening over here in the U.S. or happened globally. And we have to look at that from that perspective. We have to study the 10 plagues that happened over there in Egypt and see if they apply to us over here or globally. See if the water is any good. See if those things are happening. See if those plagues have come upon the land. Okay? So now in chapter 14 in Exodus, when they got out, when they got out of Egypt and they was getting ready to go to the Red Sea. The Most High had them to rest right before the sea. And it was all a setup. It was all a setup to be able to destroy the Egyptians. So the Most High had them to camp out. Okay, and it says in verse 14 in chapter 8, in Exodus chapter 14 verse 3. He said, he had them to, he said, speak to the children of Israel that they should turn and camp before Paharoth, between Magdal and the sea over. So what most, those names make my tongue twist a little bit. I might have tore those names up, but forgive me. I can pronounce them, but I just got a lot of energy going on. But right now, the Most High had them to camp out right before the Red Sea, right at this city, or this little place, right before the Red Sea. And see, the Pharaoh of Egypt thought that because they was camping out right before the Red Sea, he thought he had them because they didn't have a place to go. Either you go through the Red Sea or you have to go back to Egypt and deal with Pharaoh. He thought he had entangled them where Pharaoh thought they was entangled because they didn't have a place to go. He thought they was at a dead end. They wasn't going to be able to make it across the Red Sea. But the Most High was using that as a trap for the Egyptians. He was using that as a trap for the Egyptians. Because he was like, he was baiting them in to make them think that they was going to be able to slaughter the Israelites. But he was actually using that to be able to slaughter the Egyptians. And why am I saying that? Because what I said earlier, because what you think you see is not actually what you see. Sometimes you think you're seeing a destruction, but you also could be seeing a revolution. Or you could be seeing a restoration. And see, like I just told my wife right before I came on, because she was asking me a question. I said, well, the Most High always prepare people before he take them to wherever he got to take them. He always prepare them before they get to wherever they got to go. He never just throw you into the heat of the moment. He prepares you for your destination before you get there. So when you get there, you're kind of ready for what you got to do. Just like David. Before David went and fought Goliath, he was trained fighting lions and bears. So when David got up to fight against Goliath, he already had some experience fighting challenging people or challenging animals. So when he fought against Goliath, he just didn't know that the Most High was going to help him fight. He also had the physical experience of defeating animals that was much larger than him. So when the Most High brought him to that position to fight against Goliath, he was prepared for it because he had experience in the past. So that's why he was able to stand on the Most High's word so much, is because the Most High was slowly, surely preparing him for his destination. And I hope y'all don't let that go over your head. Because sometimes right now the Most High is training up a lot of us for the future. He's preparing us to study the Word. He's preparing us to keep the Sabbath. He's preparing us to study to keep the holy days and the feast days. He's preparing us for this moment where we're getting ready to go to. That's why I said Edom is the end and Jacob is the beginning. Right now, Jacob is starting to take on those positions that they need to take on. So when it's time for them to call into that position, they are already equipped and ready to take on those positions. Okay? So when Pharaoh got to the water of the Red Sea, he thought he actually had the Israelites. He thought he's finna destroy him, but he was basically being set up to get killed himself. He was basically being set up to be killed, but he didn't know that because of his arrogancy, his pride. And see, right now, what we think we see what's going on globally, it's not what you actually see. Because you have to have faith or belief in the Most High's word. The Most High is doing something that you can't physically see, because what you think you physically see, what you physically see is tragedy. Which tragedy is play or a series of literary works with unhappy endings. Some of us see tragedy, which is a series or a play of unhappy endings. Tragedy is what we think we see. It's apparently literal. It's a ghost song. Okay, it just basically means negativity. We see that's destruction. If we're looking at everything that's going on in the world today, we're seeing destruction. We're seeing tragedy. But that's actually not the case. We still in restoration. But in order for us to be able to get the restoration, it has to be war. Because in Genesis chapter 3, verse 15. This is when Adam and Eve, partaking of the knowledge of good and evil. When they took on the knowledge of good and evil, they went against the Most High, right? So the Most High punished them, and he punished them for taking on the knowledge of good and evil. But in verse 15, he said, I will put enmity. The word enmity means hostility. It means war. It means adversities. It means struggles. It means fight. That's what enmity means. That's what it means. So that means that it will always be a struggle of good and evil on the land. When he said, I will put hostility between thee and the woman. The word thee means the Hashatan, and the woman is the Israelites. And between thy seed, that's future generations, and her seed is future generations. And it shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. That means that it will always continue to be struggle of hostility on the earth until the Most High comes. He always told us that it always will be struggles. It always will be fussing and fighting on the earth until he actually comes back. So how we see things is very important. Because if he said that I would put hostility between Satan and the Most High, Yahshua the HaMashiach, and between thy seed and her seed, that's future generations. That means it will always be hostility between good and evil on the earth. And if you don't recognize it, it will always be hostility between good and evil on the earth, you're going to miss what is being told. You're going to miss everything that's taking place. You're going to miss it because you're not understanding that verse. Because that is a future, and that's a present, that's a present and a future event. So if we look at it from a future event, that means that, man, it's only going to be peace when he comes back. So until he comes back, it'll always be between good and evil. Good and evil. And what in the Exodus was trying to show you that evil had to be destroyed. The destruction of the Egyptians in the water, just like over in Adam, when Noah, Most High destroyed the earth with water, just like he destroyed the wickedness of the people. It's just like it's no different than the Egyptians being destroyed with the Red Sea. He destroyed the Egyptians, not the whole world, but he destroyed the Egyptians with water, just like he destroyed the people in Noah time with water. And he saved the righteous at that point. So, now, when you go to Exodus chapter 15, once the children of Israel went through the Red Sea or the Reed Sea, and the Egyptians started to follow behind them and Moses, and they allowed the water to come down and flood the Egyptians, and it killed them, they were singing a song of praise. They went through the Red Sea. They was able to make it through. They had victory at that point. They had victory at that point. But that was just the process. That was actually the beginning of the restoration period. That was the beginning of the restoration period. That was the start of the process. And right now, we are at the start of the process of restoration. We're at the beginning of that process. Even though it may look crazy to you, we are at the beginning of it. It says, "And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth was passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from El out of heaven, prepared as a bride adored for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men. The tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them. And they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them, and be their God, or be their El." So right now, humans would not live in the same shimmy-yams or space as the Most High. We will still have our own land that we need to occupy, which is the earth, the new earth. And what you're starting to see is the beginning processes of the new earth. First, in order for you to have to be able to see the new earth start to come to fulfillment, leadership and rulership has to be destroyed. Leadership and rulership has to be destroyed. That's what first have to happen. And when you saw that Pharaoh and his military might go into that water and be destroyed, it was the destruction of leadership. It was the destruction of leadership. Okay? The reason why the children of Israel was in the wilderness is so that they could be able to establish a relationship with the Most High. But we're in a season of praise right now. Right now, what you think what you see is not actually what you see. Let me read you something real fast. And I'm going to get started. Hopefully you'll be able to get something out of this morning. This is in Forbes. Forbes. Okay? This came out October the 28th, 2022 at 6:30 a.m. Okay, this says, drought expands east to the Mississippi River. where it really messing things up. Forbes, Forbes, drought expands east to the Mississippi River, where it's really messing things up. And I'm just gonna read you a couple of lines of it. Okay. It says drought, deadly fingers has moved east. From the dried up walls of California's Central Valley, listen to that. Drought deadly finger has moved east from the dried up walls of California's Central Valley and into the American Midwest and where much of the American food is grown. And even farther into the southeast, its tentacles has torched parts of America's most important rivers and now threaten a majority of the country. 52.7% by the American Drought Monitors counts, and 146 million people, 12 million more than a mere week ago. It is the deepest national drought since 2012. And if nothing changes, it's outpaced that benchmark soon. This long-running drought has had a profound effect on Western water supplies and American agriculture. The USDA meteorologist Brad Ripple told Forbes he cites critically drought rangelands and pastures as well as reduced yields in 2022 winter wheat, cotton, and other harvests. The economic damage and supply chain impact from the Mississippi River at historically low water levels alone will be around $20 billion according to the agro-weather experts. The mighty river is used to transport 92% of the country's agricultural exports and 78% of grain fed to livestock. Shipments of soybean, wheat, fuel, and livestock also use the waterways to get to where they need to go. There's no prospect that water levels will improve until next year. That is one. Then it goes up to another one. I'm going to go to another one. It says Car Scoop. Okay, Car Scoop. This article comes out October the 25th, 2022. The U.S. has just 25 days supply of diesel, but more is coming. Okay? The United States has just 25 days of diesel supply, and the shortage could impact how America votes at the upcoming midterm elections. The Energy Information Administration has revealed the U.S. supply of diesel is at its lowest level since 2008, and that the 4-week rolling average in demand for diesel has risen to its highest seasonal level since 2007. AAA data has also revealed that diesel prices are 50% higher than this time last year at $5.32 per gallon. Stockpile has been drained due to Russia's ongoing war in Ukraine, which has tightened global supplies and limited imports. Additional refineries have entered maintenance season, Bloomberg reports. While recently speaking on the issue, National Economic Council said that diesel inventories are unacceptably low, adding that all options are on the table to increase supply and reduce price. Okay, so now when we look at these droughts in the U.S., diesel prices, fuel shortages, expected power outages in the New England states. Unemployment rates are high, going to be high. When we look at that, we got to ask ourselves, how do we actually look at it? Do we look at it from a catastrophe point of view? Do we look at it from a disastrous point of view? Do we look at it as a spiritual war point of view? How do we see it? Because when the children of Israel was getting ready to leave Egypt, they had to go through a lot of situations in order to get free. How did they see the events that was going on in Egypt? How did they look at those events? What did they take from those events? Did they look at it as a man viewpoint, or did they look at it from the Most High's viewpoint? Did they look at it as Egypt being punished for how they treated the Israelites in Egypt? Or did they just, how did they view it? Because the question is, how you viewing your situation? How you are viewing what's going on in America? How do you view what's going on in America? Are you looking at it as a deliverance and a praise moment? Or are you looking at it as a tragedy? Because that's very important to how you would respond to this moment. Because what you think you see is actually not what you see, because what you're seeing is a destruction, but you're also seeing is a revitalization. Because a lot of people are leaving the old system and coming into something new. But something old has to be destroyed in order for that newness to come about. And if you don't see yourself as part of the new situation that's coming about, you don't see it from the Most High's perspective. See, a lot of people are growing food naturally now. And then, it's like my wife was talking to me this morning, right? She said, baby, our flowers are growing. She planted some pepper seeds about 2 weeks ago, right? Put them in the plastic containers. I'm finna get started on the text. She put them in the plastic containers, right? And it started to bud up. I said, so now, baby, what we got to do is make a plastic cover so that we could be able to start growing our peppers for next year. But if the system would never been fallen, we would have never learned how to grow food. That means that we would have continued to be on the Egyptian, or depend on the Egyptian system. People who grow up having gardens now, if they would have never had no food scarcity, they would have never had to go out in the backyard and learn how to grow food. So it's pushing us away from the Egyptian lifestyle and making us start to depend more back on the Most High. But if we don't view it from that perspective, we will not be able to give praise to the Most High. And that's what this text is all about. Moses giving the Most High's praise for what he undone. See, we're going through a transformation period. He's bringing down the pride and bringing up, lifting up the humble. Okay, so it says in Exodus chapter 15, verses 1 through 21. I'm going to kind of hurry up. I've been talking for 40 minutes. And I hope y'all okay with that. But I look at some YouTubers and they just talk the whole time. So don't get mad with me. And it says, then sang Moses and the children of Israel this song unto Yahuwah, and spake, saying, I will sing unto Yahuwah, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horses and his riders has he thrown into the sea. Yahuwah is my strength and song, and he has become my salvation. He is my El, and I will prepare him a celebration. My father's El, I will exalt him. See, we're at a point now where we need to start exalting or celebrating the Most High, because where he's pushing us. He's pushing us through deliverance. He's pushing us through freedom. He's pushing us through independence. He's pushing us away from the system. But he had to destroy the system in order to be able to push us away from the system. But if we don't see the system being destroyed, we can't celebrate him or praise him because of what he's doing. Psalms 106. Psalms 106 and 12, it reads. I'm going to go to 11 first. And the waters covered their enemies, and there was not one of them left. Then believed they his words. They sang his praise. Right now, we got to believe that the Most High is in the midst of everything that we see in order to give him the praise that he needs, or the Spirit needs. If we don't see it from the Most High point of view, we can't give him praise. But if we look at it from the physical tense, we're going to look at it as a tragedy. Because it's so deep. Isaiah 51, 10 and 11. Once we believe that this is the Most High's doing, we will give him praise. If we don't believe that this is the Most High's doing, we won't give him praise. Isaiah 51, 10 and 11. It says, art thou not it which has dried the sea? Listen to that. The Euphrates River over there in Africa, or on the continent of Africa, all the waters in the Americas are drying up. If we don't say that the Most High is drying up all the waters throughout all the lands, we won't believe this is his work. But in verse 51 and 10 it says, art thou not which has dried the sea, the waters of the great deep, that has made the deep of the sea a way for the ransoms to pass over. And see, we got to look at how important the Mississippi River is to the U.S. The Mississippi River is a lifeline. It's like the Euphrates rivers in Americas. It's that important. I just read you 92% of the things that comes through into Americas goes through the Mississippi River. It runs over 2,000 miles. From the New England states all the way down to the coast, where Louisiana, to the Gulf. If we don't look at it that the Most High dried the rivers up, we won't give him praise. Okay, it says, the waters of the great deep that has made the deep of the sea a way for the ransoms to pass over. Therefore, therefore the redeemed of Yahuwah shall return and come with singing unto Zion, and everlasting joy shall be upon their head. They shall obtain gladness and joy, and sorrow and mourning shall flee away. Because of what we see, if we true believers of the Most High, those who really truly study the Word, we'll see this as a redeeming moment for us. Because we understand that we got to go through this transitional phase to get where we need to go. If we don't look at that from that perspective, we're going to be jacked up. Let's go to Revelations. I'm kind of speed up a little bit because I know I talked the whole 30 minutes. And some of you all are not impatient enough to be there. I'm just hanging here with me. Revelations chapter 15 and 3. Okay? I'm going to slow down just a second. But I want us to understand something. Everything that goes on the earth, you got to give acknowledgement to the Most High about it. You got to acknowledge the Most High because it's a serious transformation. I have heard that some doctors saying that they're leaving the medical field and going into herbal practice because the damages that the medical field has done to people. So that is a transition. That is a crossing over, crossing through the sea to get to the promised land. Okay? Revelation chapter 15:3, and it says, they sang the song of Moshe, Moses, the servant of El, the song of the Lamb, saying, great and marvelous are thy works. See, and if we don't look at this, as the Most High's work, we will not be able to give him praises for everything that he's doing. We won't give him praise and we won't worship him. Because the Hashatan has really taken on a lot of leaders around the world. And he's using them as puppets to be able to make them do what he wants them to do. And if we don't see the judgment as a global thing, and that the Most High he's punishing most nations for the things that they've done, if we don't see it from that perspective, we won't be able to give him praise for everything that he's doing. And then finish it says, great and marvelous are thy works, Yahuwah El Almighty. Just and true are thy ways, thou King of saints. See, just and true. We got to understand that. What goes around comes around. You reap what you sow. And see, if all the nation was a righteous nation, we would not see the rivers drying up. We would not see food shortages. We would not see pestilence in the land. We would not be seeing sickness and famine in the land. If all these nations was righteous nations, we would not see what we see. But because of what we see, we got to see that the Most High is real. That's why we should be praising him at this moment, because we see transition coming about. The old kings and the rulerships and the methods of teaching people are falling away. And there's something new on the horizon. The true belief, the true way of living is on the horizon. But we just got to be able to see it from those spiritual eyes. Let's go back to Exodus chapter 15, verse 4. No, verse 3. It says, Yahuwah is a man of war. Yahuwah is his name. See, war has to take place in order for things to be able to come about. Because war is a contest between nations and states carried on by forces. Spiritual forces as well. Either for defense or for revenging insult and redressing wrongs. See, we're in a spiritual warfare right now, which is revenging insults and redressing wrongs for the extensions of commerce and acquisitions of territories. See, right now the Most High is dealing with the wicked because of what they have done. And he's got to tear down their kingdoms in order for them to be not in existence anymore. That's why he said, I'm going to And the only way that can come, only way the restoration can come about is through war. It says a contest between nations and states carried on by forces, either for defense or for revenging insults and redressing wrongs for the extension of commerce. The Most High is at war right now because he's readdressing some stuff that's been going on for a long time. Okay? Verse 4. This is what's happened to the chariot. This is what happened to Pharaoh in Egypt, okay? It says, Pharaoh's chariots and his host has he cast into the sea. His chosen captains also was drowned in the Red Sea. The deep has covered them. They sank into the bottom as a stone. Then it says, Thy right hand, O Yahuwah, is become glorious in power. Thy right hand, Yahuwah, has dashed in pieces the enemies. Okay? And in the greatest of thy excellence, thou hast overthrown them that rose up against thee. Thou sendest forth thy wrath, which consumed them as stubble. The Most High used all his elements to be able to defeat the Egyptians. Listen to that. All the elements. All the elements. What is the Mississippi River made out of? Water. The elements, food. All these things are being destroyed so that the Most High can bring his way of living back to the earth. To bring his way of living back to the earth. Because we got to understand what farmer means. Pharmaceuticals. P-H-A-R-M-A. Farmer, what that means. Which goes against what the Most High is trying to do. See, the Most High has to bring a destruction to pharma so that he can bring on holistic. The natural way of doing things. But if we don't look at it from that perspective, we're going to miss it. Let's go to Psalms 2 and 9. I'm right at an hour, so I got about 30 minutes left. Psalms 2 and 9, it says, Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a pottery vessel. Be wise now, therefore, O ye kings. Be instructed, ye judges of the earth. Serve Yahuwah with fear and rejoice with trembling. Isaiah chapter 30, verse 14. And see, this week, right, one of my cousins called me because he knows,
30 what?
Isaiah chapter 30, verse 14. See, one of my cousins, right, he called me. He said, hey, man, I said, what's up? He said, hey, I'm trying to grow my garden, man, but I can't get my stuff together. He said, I'm tired of buying that stuff in the store. It's no good no more. He said, I'm trying to grow my garden. What I need to do, man? Let me know what I need to do to get me some good food. See, a lot of people are starting to go back to the natural way of doing things, which is L. L is natural. L is in everything. Everything that you see that was created, L is involved in it. L is involved in it because a spirit, energy is in it that helps the whole earth. Everything is doing what it's supposed to do so that everybody can be able to exist and coexist within the earth. And everybody right now is a shift where El is trying to push everybody back to the earth. Isaiah 30:14, and it says, and he shall break it as the breaking of a pottery vessel that is broken in pieces, and he shall not spare, so that there shall not be found in the bursting of it a shred, to take fire from the hurt, or to take water withal out of the pit. It says, for thus saith Yahuwah, the Holy One of Israel, in returning and rest shall ye be saved. In quietness and confidence shall your strength, and ye would not. Okay. Right now what you see on the earth is a breaking of strongholds. Everything that people think they have control over is going to be broken. See, man, it's like man always think he know man always think he's in control of things. Man always think he in control of things and he's doing it the way he want to do it, how he want to do it. But what you think you see is not actually what you see. What I'm reading is actually what you think what you're hearing is not actually what you're hearing, because some of you may be hearing tragedy, but some people may be hearing victory, restoration. Because them crossing through the Red Sea was a victory, was a restoration, was a new beginning. But if they looked at it, oh man, wow, the Egyptians just died in the water. Wow, that's bad. But if they look at it as, man, we made it. We all right now. We ain't going back. We got a new beginning, got a brand new start. It's a totally different mindset. How you view it is very important. Let's go to Jeremiah. Chapter 13. 13 and 14. And it reads, and it says, then shalt thou say unto them, thus saith Yahuwah, behold, I will fill all the inhabitants of this land, even the kings that sit upon David's throne, and the priests and the prophets, and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem with drunkenness. And I will dash them one against another, even the fathers and the sons together, saith Yahuwah, and I will not have pity, and I will not pity, nor spare, nor have mercy, but destroy them. Okay? What's going on the earth today? See, kingdoms has to fall in order for other kingdoms to rise. Brother has to fight against brothers. Sister has to fight against sisters. Nation has to fight against nations in order for the strong nations that was in charge to fall so other nations can rise. And if we don't look at these conflicts that's rising together, like North Korea against South Korea, Japan against China, Ukraine against Russia, United States against Russia. If we don't see all of those things as the Most High's action, making them go against each other, we won't believe that this is going on. He's in control. We won't praise him for the deliverance. Because in the 246 years that America been in existence, they've been at war for over 220 years. America been at war for 220 years since the existence of 246 years. Or 250 years. We always been at war fighting somebody over something. How can we say that the Most High is in America when we have been at war killing people for over 220 years? At some point in time, we should want to stop seeing wars. At some point in time, we should want to stop seeing this. But the final one is happening right before our eyes. But we can't look at it as a tragedy. We got to look at it as a spiritual war between good and evil, because that's the only thing that's been happening. It's a spiritual war between good and evil right now. Okay? So let us go back to Exodus chapter 15. Verses 8. Okay? Then it says, with the blast of thy nostrils the waters were gathered together, the flood stood upright as an heap, and the deep was congealed in the hearts of the sea. The enemy said, I will pursue and I will overtake, and I will divide the spoils. My lust shall be satisfied upon them, and I will draw my sword, my hand shall destroy them. That's what the Egyptian was saying. Listen to this. That's what the Egyptian was saying when they was pursuing the Israelites right in front of the Red Sea. The Egyptian was saying, I will pursue, I will overtake, I will divide the spoils. My lust shall be satisfied upon them. I will draw my sword, my hand shall destroy them. That's what the Egyptian was saying right before they was coming. As soon as they was running after the Israelites going through the Red Sea, it was all a setup, though they didn't even know it because of their pride. Because right now, what we think we seeing on earth is the Egyptians saying, I will pursue them. I will impoverish them. I will make them take the mark of the beast. I will starve them out. I will be satisfied because of their hunger, and they will have to come after me for food. And I will draw my sword and make them do the things that I want them to do. And my hands will destroy them because they're going to serve me. That's what right now the Hashatan on the land is saying. But it's also set up for him to be destroyed. It's all a setup. It said, thou did blow with thy wind, the sea covered them, and they sank as lead in the mighty waters. So what happened, because of the pride of the Egyptians, it made them destroy their own selves. See, as we sent 80 billion, 100 billion over there to Ukraine, feeding the lust of our hearts, it's destroying our own homeland. As we focus and concentrate on what's going on over there, over the other lands, it's destroying this. As we feeding the war, the sword over there in Ukraine, it's destroying this. See, China got over 1 billion people. Russia got over 50 million people. They got more military. China military is much better than ours. Russian military is much better than ours. But the Most High is setting it up for failure. But my lust shall be satisfied upon them. My desire shall be satisfied. That's the mentality of the Hashatan. It's a setup. And some people can't even see it because of their own physical desires. A lot of people can't see what they're doing. It's a setup for failure because of their own physical desires. And it says, thou did blow with thy wind. The sea covered them, they sank as lead in the mighty waters. Their own desires caused them to die. Then it says, who is like unto thee, O Yahuwah, and among the Els? Who is like thee, O glory? Who is like thee, glorious in holiness, fearful in praises, doing wonders? Because if we look on the earth today, right? Who could be doing this where it's happening? Who could be drying up the Mississippi River? Who could be drying up the Euphrates River? Who could be drying up all the rivers on the West Coast? Do you know there's no more snow crabs? It was over 1 billion snow crabs that have been killed or died off. There's no more snow crabs. Who could have done something like that? Who could dry up the Mississippi River in the way that it is? Who could have dried up all the rivers on the West Coast? Who could have dried up the Euphrates River the way it did? Who could have did all this stuff? Think about it. Quit giving man so much credit. We're just instruments. It says, thou stretchest out thy right hand. The earth swallows them. He said, when you stretch forth your hand, the earth just consumed them with the water. They just died off. It says, thou in thy mercy hast led forth the people which thou hast redeemed. Thou hast guided them in thy strength unto thy holy habitation. See right here in verse 13 it says, thou in thy mercy hast led forth the people which thou hast redeemed. Thou hast guided them in thy strength unto thy holy habitations. The people shall hear and be afraid. Sorrow shall take hold on their habit. Now, I want to deal with this one before I deal with verse 14. It says, thou in thy mercy hast led forth the people which thou hast redeemed. Thou hast guided them in thy strength unto thy holy habitations. Okay, the children of Israel was led into a new land because of what happened with the Red Sea, and the children and the Egyptians died in the waters. The Most High brought the waters on the Egyptians and destroyed them, and the Most High led the children of Israel through the water so that they could be saved. Okay? So right now, it's people doing things that they never thought they'd be doing to be able to save other people. Right now, the Most High is waking up so many people to do things that they never thought that they'd do so that they could be able to save other people. And the Most High is guiding other people's lives so they can save other people's lives. And they don't even see it. They don't even associate it with the Most High. They only think they're doing it because they're doing it. Because that's what they think. Because my instructor, my weapon instructor, right? And I think he's a good dude. I like him a lot. And I've been with him for over 3 years. And he told me one day, he said, you know what, Orlando? I said, what's up? He said, man, I feel kind of bad because I'm doing what I'm doing, man, because I'm teaching people how to do it. He said he used it in a negative way. I said, but nah, brother, you got to look at it. You got to use it in a positive way. I said, because the Most High is he is a warrior, and you're training people to defend themselves. Not go kill nobody, but defend themselves. My wife would have never been able to shoot 1,000 yards, over 1,200 yards without his help. My aunt is growing food that she never imagined she would be able to grow food. I ain't never heard my aunt growing food before. My whole family growing food. They learning how to grow food and maintain themselves and help other people. My uncle is doing things that I couldn't even imagine doing. He's growing food by just having food, pots and water. So the Most High is guiding us to do things that we never would imagine that we would be doing. And we're saving, we're going to be able to have the ability to save other people's lives. And sometimes we don't even associate that with the Most High guiding us. Because he said, thou in thy mercy hast led forth the people which thou hast redeemed, restored, and thou hast guided them in his strength unto thy holy habitation. So when we get to where we got to go, people are going to be skillful enough to help the people be redeemed. You're going to have farmers. You're going to have people whose medicines. You're going to have people whose weapons. You're going to have people who know how to purify water. You're going to have people that know how to restore the land, because he is preparing us now for where we got to go. And we don't even associate that with the Most High. Some of us just look at it, oh, I just got to do it to survive. No, this is the Most High's doing it so he can teach you. So when it's time for you to know how to do it, you can use those skills to help other people along the way. See, where we got to go, we're going to have to replenish the land. And we'll have to restore the land. And so when we get to where we got to go, everybody going to have skills and abilities. So when we get there, what you know how to do, we're going to jump to it to be able to save people. Save the land. And people ain't going to even understand it. Verse 14, it says, the people shall hear and be afraid. Sorrow shall take hold on the inhabitants of Palestine, the Palestinians. Then the dukes of Edom shall be amazed. The mighty men of Moab, trembling, shall take hold upon them. All the inhabitants of Canaan shall melt away. That's why when they went into the land of Canaan, they just gave it up because they heard what was going on. Then it says, fear and dread shall fall upon them by the greatness of thy arms. They shall be as still as a stone till the people pass over. Yahuwah until the people, Yahuwah till the people pass over. Thou shalt hast purchased. Thou shalt bring them in and plant them in the mountains of thy inheritance, in the place of Yahuwah, which thou hast made for thee to dwell in the sanctuary of Yahuwah, which thy hands have established. Revelation chapter 12 and 6. See, Revelation chapter 12 and 6, right? Okay. I'm going to read verse 5. She brought forth a man-child who was rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up unto El, to his throne. The woman, which is the children of Israel, fled into the wilderness, where she has a place prepared of El, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. The land where we're going to be able to go, the land where we're going, is going to have so many herbs in foods that are ready for us to be able to use to be able to nourish us for those 3.5 years. But the people going to have to know, to have the knowledge to be able to use those herbs in the land to be able to feed the people. They're going to have the knowledge to know how to feed the people and take care of the people when they get into the wilderness. And see, that's why he said he has prepared. That means the food is going to grow up, but we're going to have the knowledge to know how to use the food, that when we get there, we'll know how to use the food that's in the land to be able to do what it needs to do. That's like in the wilderness with the children of Israel there. He provided manna and herbs and bread in them for them. That's no different. So when we get there, he's going to do the same thing. But what we think we see is not really what we see. He's forcing us out of an old system and bringing us back to a new system. Let's go back to Exodus and I'm done. Exodus 18. Yahuwah shall reign forever and ever. See, when we get into that wilderness and when we get to this new place, we ain't gonna let nothing else deter us from doing the right thing, because we gonna understand everything that took place. Because we're gonna understand everything that took place. We're gonna acknowledge that the Most High destroyed. We're gonna understand that the Most High rebuild. And because when we're going to see that the old things was destroyed and something new came about and he gave us these abilities before we got to the land, we're going to praise him for it, because where we getting ready to go and what's getting ready to happen, it only could be him that brought everything to existence. See, a lot of us don't see things spiritually, because we're not spiritually connected to Yahuwah. Yahuwah, if you're growing if you're growing a garden, you're not just growing a garden just to grow a garden, because what Yahuwah is doing is trying to teach you how he is in the midst of you growing your garden. If you're going back to a natural diet, Yahuwah is not just sending you on a natural diet because he wants you to have a natural diet. He's teaching you in the process. If Yahuwah is training you with weaponry and all of these other things, he's doing that for a specific reason and for a specific purpose. It's just that you have to understand and give him praise in the midst of it. You can't just do it because you're doing it to survive. No, you're doing it to evolve. You're evolving. You're evolving, but you're being restored, and you're removing yourself from something old and going into something new. And if you don't see it from Yahuwah's way, you won't be able to give him praise. If you don't see everything drying up and something has to be destroyed so it can be restored, if you don't see it from that perspective, you won't be able to give him praise in the midst of it. You won't see why the Mississippi River being dried up. You won't see why everything is being destroyed. You won't see why the wars is going on. Something has to be torn down, so something new got to be brought up. The Egyptian was destroyed with water. The people with Noah time were destroyed with water. My last one, go to Psalms 10 and 16. If you can't view it from there, it's going to be very difficult for you to even understand this text today. Psalms 10 and 16. And see, if we don't listen to verse 15. Psalms 10, 15 and 16. It says, break thou the arms of the wicked and the evil man. Seek out his wickedness till thou find none. See, what we're seeing right now is it's a breaking. It's a destroying. It's a breaking and a destroying. It says, Yahuwah is king forever and ever. The heathens are perished out of his land. Understand that. Yahuwah, thou hast heard the desires of the humble. Thou hast heard the desires of the humble. Thou wilt prepare their hearts. Thou wilt cause thy ears to hear.